Guys, this is Cullen from www.FlopTurnRiver.com, aka Big Spin to 73. I'm recording a two-table video here on PokerStars um, at 2 cent, 5 cent no limit, or known as $5 no limit, or 5NL. I am not running the PokerTracker software or the Poker Ace heads-up display or HUD during this video. King Jack offsuit under the gun is a fold for me. I'm not going to be playing too many offsuited broadways under the gun. So what we're going to do here is try to get some reads, look at the action, see how people are playing hands. Like Al Bordeaux just showed up with ace 10 offsuit there against a player with kings. Let's see how he played. Okay, we'll bring up the hand history. We see that the king player min raised and under the gun +1. Al Bordeaux called. Um, the king player then bet full pot on the flop. Al Bordeaux called. On the turn, the king player checked, Al bet, and then the king player shoved the river and Al called. So obviously, not a horrible play by Al in a sense. This player did not play his kings well. He should have raised more than min pre-flop, and he out of position he could have bet folded that flop. In position he would have been able to maybe check behind that flop. So I know you guys know a lot about pre-flop play, so we're going to focus on some post-flop play and some reads. So we have another flop here where Al is in the same pot. Since he's on our left, I like to see how he plays because that's the toughest spot for someone to be in versus us. So we have ace-king offsuit, a hand that I'm willing to put in 3 bets with pre-flop. I will be raising it up for value against their limping range. I flop top 2 in a limp pot here. Don Poker, who I do not know, min raises. I'm going to make it 4 times his bet. I'll be betting full pot with top 2. We will see what Don calls. All right, that's a great flop for us. Let's see how we can get the money in here. If I bet 90, I'm going to start with pretty much a full pot size bet, just slightly less than pot, 85 cents. Without a read, I'm gonna call here and look at the turn card. This could be a flush draw. It could be a worse or 2 pair. Well, he check raises, and I'm just going to shove. Now, there's flush draws out there. Um, you know, let's see. We'll see what he has. I'm going to call this bet here, too. I don't have much to read. This could be a set. This could be a flush draw by him. He could have a hand like 4-6, and my hand should be good now. So I may not have gotten maximum value. It looks like Don has an ace that he doesn't know if he should call with or not. He ends up folding. We scoop a nice little pot. So this player can fold. We see that. The reason I shoved this flop is just because the board's so dry. I have top pair, top kicker, and on top of that, worse hands will calm me down. I may not have played the hand on the left screen as well as I should have due to the fact that I was in a pot over here. Let's pull this hand up. I flop top 2 in a limp pot. I bet full pot. I get raised a little more than min, and I call. I'm waiting for some good cards to come. Basically, for my hand. There's a lot of poor cards that come, but basically the 2 of hearts is a good card. It doesn't do anything else to his hand unless he has a hand like ace 4 diamonds. When he bets 30 cents, it feels a little weak, but I'm definitely not folding. And on the river, there's debate. I could lead this river since I could bet fold this river, or I could just call. Let's see what he did it with. He ends up doing it with just top pair. So, not a poor play by him. In a sense, it's a good check behind on the river by him, definitely. I think he realized that his pair of 7s with a mediocre kicker was no good. I will not play Jack 10 offsuit to a raise and a flat call. I may play it to if I had Jack 10 suited. Okay, I flop a gut shot here against a player that I tangled with last time. I'll bet 35 into 45. These guys love to play back at me on these ace high flops. And luckily that time he does not. I do have PokerTracker running and my HUD. I don't have the HUD stats running. I'm just running PokerTracker so I can save the hand histories. So after the session is over, we can do a nice review of the hands. Here's another. We're seeing a lot of semi-large pots already, which is great to gain reads. Okay, Mr. Kaling opened under the gun, and Don Poker called. The flop came ace high. Mr. Kaling bet very weak. So I haven't even seen the results yet, but let's look. Very weak. Does that mean he has an ace? Probably not. Probably not. And the Don Poker calls. He could certainly have an ace, or he could have a flush draw. The turn brings in the flush draw. It goes check, check. The river brings a pair of the threes. Mr. Kaling bets 5 cents, which seems like a weak blocking bet, and Don Poker raises. So right now my range for Don Poker would be either flush draws that he checked through on the turn, or maybe I mean, he's a poor player in a sense. He could have a 3 there, or an ace, or he could just be bluffing missed straight draws in that sense. 2 10s under the gun, I'll be definitely opening. So let's see what happens. And then Mr. Kaling calls, which makes me believe maybe he had a weak ace or a pair between nines and aces, like jacks or something. To the river. Mr. Kaling had, okay, so I need to adjust my reads. Don had a missed straight draw, but Mr. Kaling had king high. This is a decent flop, especially against this player. I'll be willing to felt this flop. I'm going to bet 40 into 45. Actually, if he puts money in, he was so passive that other hand. So passive. I'm not exactly sure what I want to do here. He's thinking. If he thinks forever and raises, it might be a fold. Certainly the only hand that I'm putting him on that beats me is a Jack X type hand. But he was so passive in that last pot. He had King Queen though. But I mean, I know I could probably shove on him and get called by worse hands, which makes me think a shove could be okay. Certainly he's calling with a Jack there. But for the most part, Ace Jack suited at this level I will open. At the higher levels, I would not do it, but players will call me with worse hands, which is why I open this hand. I will open the 8-9 suited to 4 times the big blind against this Al Bordeaux player. He calls. We know he's a bit of a calling station. Our hand is nicely disguised. We'll be c-betting 30 into 40 here. This is a good flop to c-bet up here. He either has a hand he can continue with or he can't. It's not a bad card. I'm going to bet fold this turn. If I get raised, I'm going to bet 60 into 95. The reason I bet is because I just don't like giving the lead up. Cool. This is an interesting spot. I could check and call a reasonable size bet. If I check, I wonder if he bets a jack. That's the problem. If he has a missed flush draw, it's interesting. And he might just have a missed flush draw, and he does. Or that would be my guess, a missed flush draw. So there's definitely arguments for betting and for checking that river. We become three-handed. Let's take a look at the hand history and see what he checks behind. 9-10, so we had a missed open-ender. So kind of the same thing. I was probably going to be able to call a reasonable river bet. And I'm going to get off this table now. And I don't like doing this in videos, but I will get off this table and bring another one in. I don't want to play three-handed. Because that's not what these videos are about. This is about playing 6 max today. I found another table. I will be sitting out here. Apologies for having to bring another one in, guys, but we will close out this video and bring another table in. So if to get new reads, bring another table in, get it settled here. Okay. So we need new reads. I don't recognize any of these players, and I doubt I will at these levels just because I haven't played them in so long. And coming up the ranks, I never played them at PokerStars in the first place. But for the most part, we're just still going to try to gain some reads, take a look at the pots. I like to see, like at this table, who's been winning a lot of pots here. Well, I have lately, since I sat down really, but Nexa has been. That's about it. Dingle Data is one of few, but haven't heard much from these players on the left side of the screen, so I can assume they're playing fairly tight poker. I will open the King 10 suited, and I open everything to 4 times the big blind. I've experimented in the past with 3 times, and you're more than welcome to. There's nothing wrong. I get flat called, so let's talk about the range at a player 5 no limit that's just flat calls, or some people call them cold calls. My range. It's a lot of small pairs. It's a lot of ace X or big Broadway hands. I think against this player's range, I see bet's very profitable. I think he's folding a lot of hands, and he's obviously not folding the smaller pairs. And I get min raise, and this is an easy fold. I would, you see this a lot, and it can get frustrating. The guy just min raises you, and you have to give it up with your 2 big cards, and that can be frustrating in a sense. But his range is a lot of small pairs here, right? Now it could be a set, or it could be a pair like fives, or a hand like 6-5. But for the most part, I don't think 3-bet shoving as a bluff here is the best. Now if I had a flush draw, I'd probably be just coming over the top and making a big bet here and shoving the turn. But overall, I will not complete the king 7 suited. So we're still trying to get some reads here, just figure out what our opponents are doing. We're only 10 minutes in, so we've got about another half an hour. What I'll do is probably play for half an hour more and do a quick 5 or 10 minute review session in PokerTracker of some of the larger hands. Let's see here, we have a min raise.